existed like it at the time. We really became the first decentralized autonomous organization. And so we have this long history of solving problem after problem. And now we're laser focused on usability. Right now, cryptocurrency is way too hard for most people to use. You have to be dedicated to learning how to use it, be willing to overcome your fears when you type that first cryptographic address in. Hope you didn't mistype anything, not realizing that you've got about a 1 billion chance of having the transaction actually accepted if you mistyped it. But it's a real barrier. This is not going to become a tool that is usable by the masses unless we address this issue. And meanwhile, we see many others in the space debating about some technical detail, block size, all kinds of stuff that users don't care about. They're addressing the wrong things. And we're making sure that, first of all, everyone at Dash rows in the same direction. We have a strategy, we have an end vision in mind, and we're laser focused on executing against that vision. We have investors that are aligned with that vision. We have users that are aligned with that vision. Even our miners are aligned with that vision. We just had about the fastest transition from one version to the next in history. 100 hours is all it took for all of our miners to switch over to the new version. Compare that. So we have a very strong, cohesive community that all share a common vision. And I think that that allows us to be far more nimble and move far more quickly towards a usable cryptocurrency. Now, I said at the beginning a little bit about inevitability. Ever since I've been involved in this project, it has felt to me a lot like fate at every step. And so it seems like every single turn there's been this element of distinction between the two. Fate is something that you cannot control, something that happens to you. And it's directed upon you by some supernatural being. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening is an inevitable shift in the marketplace for digital currencies. And here's why. And here's what I settled on. And inevitability is basically something that is eventually going to happen. It doesn't say anything about whether or not you're in control of that happening. I happen to think we are. And here are the reasons why. If you look at the Bitcoin Foundation and other donators of developer time, Bitcoin Foundation got, in their most recent IRS 990 filing, somewhere around $396,000 in donations. They filed that in August. And last year was Dash's first full year of having a treasury system. And that treasury system, on the date that the Dash was paid out, produced about $660,000 in treasury funding. So last year, we kicked out the $660,000. We were able to do a lot with it. We've got somewhere around 32 paid employees, part-time and full-time. We funded a PR firm. We funded a plethora of different marketing activities, a YouTube show, all kinds of things, because people are passionate about this project and they're willing to work very hard for peanuts in order to see our vision happen. But here's what's happened since. With the market cap growth that we've seen this year, we're kicking out about $600,000 a month at this point. And it doesn't stop there. At $600,000 a month, so that's around $7 million a year that we're kicking out. that funds, and we just did two things, started paying our team full market rates. And two, we more than doubled the size of our full-time payroll and nearly doubled the size of our employee base in a single month. We're hiring for 18 new full-time positions and 5 part-time ones on top of the 14 full-time positions, and I think it's about 16 or 18 part-time positions that we already have. We're going to be able to do a lot with that. And people aren't going to have side jobs anymore. They're not going to have to work on their side business in order to make ends meet. They're going to be able to dedicate their time to Dash. And so, let's compare that with Bitcoin. It's very hard to find out how many full-time developers are working on Bitcoin, but I saw that Bitcoin Core claims to have somewhere around 17-ish, they say, more full-time programmers. There are about 3 that are working through MIT's program. There's a handful of those. Not only are we able to fund more developers, we're able to fund more of all the other resources you need. Marketing, PR, finance, HR, all of the things that keep an organization running. And so I believe that we're moving far faster than any other digital currency out there. And that's at our current scale. Now let's assume we keep growing. If we produce a product that can appeal to a much broader audience, and I believe it's many, many times larger than the current set of digital currency users. If we're able to produce this product and reach a massively larger audience, I would argue that our market cap should be much, much larger than Bitcoin's. But let's just assume we match it. If we were to match Bitcoin's market cap, the annual production of our treasury, are you ready? $185 million a year. How many developers can I hire? More than we need. I joked at Miami, the Miami Bitcoin conference here in January, I joked that by the end of the year, we might have a Super Bowl ad. And I'm starting to think that's possible. Because if we continue to grow at an exponential rate, a couple $1 million on an ad would not be a big deal to a $185 million budget. Now, if you assume that we can reach 10x of Bitcoin because we make cryptocurrency useful, the sky's the limit. We're talking about over $1 billion a year in funding that we can use to grow our ecosystem, to encourage adoption, to pay for integrations. And this has been our secret weapon. People keep discounting. Oh, they're too small. Oh, well, they've only been around since their trading volume is too low. I hear all kinds of objections. That there aren't any transactions on the blockchain. Well, when you start from a small base and you have exponential growth, yes, it starts out small, but small numbers have a tendency to become very big very quickly. And if you look at, we've all heard this parable about the guy who bet the king a grain of rice on the first square of a checkerboard and said, just pay me 2 on the next one, 4 on the next one, etc. And pretty soon his whole kingdom was like 5 feet deep in rice in order to pay this guy off. Exponential growth is a powerful thing. Warren Buffett talked about it. I think Einstein used to talk about it. It is an incredible thing. And here's what's happening. We've had exponential growth, 3-digit exponential growth for years. And now we're pretty big. Exponential growth from here is going to be very impactful. very impactful. I keep saying my biggest issue at this point is growth, not money. It's not resources. We have to grow the organization in a smart way. We have to grow our ecosystem in a smart way. And growing fast and efficiently is hard. So there will be efficiency losses as we do this. We're probably going to have to throw money at problems. But I think we need to be willing to do that in order to continue the momentum and growth. And so I'll talk about one more thing, and I'll be done, because I have a feeling I'm going way over my time. But I brought a laser pointer because I had a slide. And maybe the people in the video won't be able to see this, but I had a basic slide that had a nice chart on it with an x-axis and a y-axis. All right? I want people to see, so we'll go up there. So, in any case, people talk to me about, well, Hash just isn't as secure as the biggest blockchains. This is an objection I hear from business owners. Now, forget the fact that our trading volume is now larger than the Bitcoin trading volume at the date that they launched their business, and forget about the fact that our hash rate is now larger than Bitcoin's was at the time that they launched their business on Bitcoin, that users won't use it. But in any case, they argue that it's not secure enough because if this axis is how much money is spent on mining, and the y-axis is how much security you get, it's not a linear curve. Spending twice as much on mining does not get you twice as much security. It's a curve that looks like this. It plateaus up at the top. And you can spend more and more and more. Right? What do you get for it? None. What economic value does it produce? Well, it's good for mining equipment manufacturers. You might try to argue it's good for miners, but it's not. More miners are going to show up and erode away any excess earnings that you have. So what do you do once you reach this plateau? Do you keep spending more? Or do you partition off a part of it? Sorry, I'll do it over here for the video folks. You partition off a part of it and you use it for something that's productive. And that's what we've done. We've taken that unproductive portion of mining allocation and we've allocated it towards treasury. We've allocated it towards incentivizing masternodes to actually run servers on our network and allow it to grow. And God forbid, a portion of the treasury just doesn't get used. Those are coins that are never produced and don't dilute the coins that are in the hands of our users. So any of those purposes is a better purpose than continuing to spend, and this is what Bitcoin spends on mining, $650 million a year to secure your coffee transaction. Maybe, a nice piece of jewelry. It's excessive, it has no value, and our network, at the end of the day, is simply more efficient. It produces more value than the legacy cryptocurrencies. And I believe that in very short order, what you're going to see is other cryptocurrencies that mimic our system are going to come to dominate the field. I'm saying it right now. All of this equates to one thing. Going back to inevitability. We have reached the point where Dash is too large. It's still a small fraction of Bitcoin's size, but it is too large. It is now inevitable that our product is going to be better than theirs. It is inevitable. When you throw more resources at it, and you do it in a more efficient way, and in a more well-rounded way. We don't just have developers, we have marketers, we have testers, we have every business function that you can imagine. And so putting this all together, I have stopped telling my family and friends that this venture is too risky, because I can't justify that. I believe that we've entered a stage in which the outcome is inevitable. And so that's basically, maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it even takes us 3. But it is inevitable that this is going to happen. Economics don't lie. It will happen. So with that, I'll pause. I'm sure there'll be questions at the end, but we'll let Evan have some airtime there.
Great job.
It's been incredible. What's going on with the live stream?
Yeah.
Some like technical issues.
It's just the autofocus.
Oh, okay.
No, I got it fixed.
Go ahead. Okay. So anyway, I was going to say, fantastic turnout, just incredible, and something like an energy in the room. Like, I think we found our people. It's been an incredible experience. Tao of Satoshi. I also want to thank Brian, who basically has taken over the core DAO at this point. I'm acting more as an advisor role to date, and he's been doing a fantastic job. I'd like if you guys would be willing to give me. And Amanda, the idea of having a DAO that is a YouTube channel, it's like those girls that go to Comic-Con, like, and then they have like YouTube channels, like, but you're like the Dash version of that. It's just really like. We owe our success to these people. I just had the like very small idea of like how to do the economic model at the beginning that fixed the Bitcoin issues. Like it put there were holes in their boat, right? And so we went to this exponential growth. The company model of running a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, it works. We're the first one. Like, and we can replicate that over and over again. So what I want to do, and what the Bitcoin people have done, that I think we should replicate. This is a really good idea, is to have more than one implementation other than C++. It's important because we need different perspectives. We inherited code from other people, and it was at a time in 2008 during the financial collapse, and there was a lot on these people's minds when they were writing it. It's kind of like spaghetti. It's very difficult to understand. And I've only ran into a few people that can, and we have them at Dash Core, right? But what if we could make a more simplistic, easier to understand implementation in a Pythonic language like Go? See, we have some people that know, like, it's a good idea to have something else like that. So, I mean, oddly enough, I just met 2 people, one that knows Go, as I was coming out here, and one that knows MongoDB, which could be a really cool way of converting Sentinel over so that we can actually fix the sharding and scalability issues of the network. Like, I figured that out while you were talking just now. Like, it came out of you. Like, there's like a really good idea in there. where we could shard the database off into like 256 places using Mongo, and then use it as a value key store. And from that, we can pretty much grow to any size of transactional volume, right? And that's something that could happen now with a separate implementation. And then the core team, they'll work lockstep in us. We'll work together as two independent organizations, two DAOs, both with funding from the blockchain. So this is going to be like a locally ran thing here. Also, it'll have its own internet presence, its own Slack. So like, I think that's how our economy expands. We don't even know what to do with the money if it does grow like that, right? Like, you have no idea. We would just start putting it in bank accounts or something. Like, hardware wallet. So what we need to do is we need to fund the other parts of the economy. We need branch offices next. That can be a DAO. And it can run on this Go software, or it could run on the third implementation. And then like maybe we just like look at the different countries, figure out what they like, what types of languages they like, and put a foundation in those places. And then we start building out a new implementation again. And suddenly we have 12 implementations, all ran by different DAOs on our network, completely decentralized. Like that takes a lot of money to do, and it kind of solves the issue, I think. So like this is kind of what I've been thinking about over the last few months, is how I'm going to be interacting with the project. And I currently run the foundation as executive director. I'm going to get a special seat on the board as an advisor. And I also took my master notes down. I feel like if I have this much influence, I don't want to be voting for my own ideas through the network. It sounds like corruption, right? So I want to be an outside observer, and I kind of want to fund a lot of these like new thriving companies within the space. And then we'll fund them through the DAO system. It could be an industrial. And so I don't think I have that much else to say. I thank you all for coming out. It's been an incredible experience, and I'll turn it back to Amanda.
So yeah, we'll just take perhaps like 15 minutes of Q&A. I think that's the time we're allotted in this space. And so will you please tell me, are they in frame?
We're good. I just would like to have us repeat the question after it's answered.
Of course we'll repeat the question after it's answered. Thank you for that reminder.
And then that'll get answered.
I will be happy to. First question in the light blue shirt.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you for what you've done for my family from the investment I've made in Dash a long time ago. Secondly, I would like to ask, we know originally, back years ago, people talked about the unbanked in the world. And they talked about how I'll be quick, I'm sorry. What I'm looking for is, what is some altruistic goals and ideas and thoughts of what Dash can do to humanity and to the world? Where is that in your mind, and what your thoughts are? More than just helping us, pay the bills and feed the table.
I didn't think we
Okay, so I'll just repeat the question. The question was, what are one's thoughts of altruism for what Dash will
Do for humanity.
people? Yeah.
A fantastic question, and one I've been like pondering, myself. I think that when you have a giving perspective in life, that it actually comes back to you more than what you even gave, right? And it just makes sense to structure things like that. It's a like type of gifting economy, right? And so you can make foundations that run way more efficiently on cryptographic currency, and model them after the DAO model. And then you give them like an open ledger of an English legalese type of recording ledger, where they can record their milestones and their missions and what they've done, and completely transparent ledgers about everything that's happening. and then you structure it on the back end so that the voting is like decentralized, collateralized voting, and then that rules out a lot of the corruption side because everything's provable. And then you can scale up a bunch of those. Like they should work way better.
So for me, I think with what we are building with Dash, we're doing it in a way that intentionally addresses the unbanked. And I'll talk a couple of ways about that without going into too much detail. But the only requirement to be able to hold Dash is access to a device, like a smartphone will do, and access to an internet connection. And so not every country in the world is fully addressable, but there are a lot of poor countries that nonetheless meet those two requirements. And I've talked to people at conferences that are from Haiti or Venezuela or places where inflation is incredibly high. And you talk to people who cash out, they get a paycheck every single day. They cash it out for US dollars and literally stuff it under the mattress. Those people shouldn't have to go through that. And they shouldn't have to live with an incompetent central bank or an incompetent government. So if you give people a choice, a real choice, to use a currency that is stable, generally increasing in value, and basically allows them privacy and freedom from a corrupt government, you allow them to thrive. And when you do that, you open up incredible amounts of wealth. And it doesn't need to be a lot for these people to make a huge difference. And so I think that by making Dash usable by everyday people, you can access folks like that. And when you access folks like that, I think that it actually removes power from a government who is freely printing money for their own purposes and diluting the wealth of their citizens in order to maintain their power. And you take away one funding source from them. And that can have even more profound political impact in the world. And so I think that digital currencies in general have this power. But I think you need to make it usable to everyday people before you can truly experience that impact. We already see it today. In Venezuela, there are brokers that allow people to transfer their wealth into Bitcoin and Dash. And people use it because they know that their own currency is going to drop in value if they hold that. And so there's already this value that's being created. Now, one of the things specifically that I'll talk about with evolution, we are going to run it on, if you know anything technically, on certain certain protocols and certain ports that the government can't shut down unless they want to shut down the internet. And so it will be unfiltered. It will be encrypted. And so no government is going to make that choice to shut the internet off, to stop Dash. So I think that even in corrupt places, we can reach.
Before I take the next question, I just wanted to encourage you all, I realize that has not yet been mentioned, if you're wondering what we're meaning when we say make digital currency usable, because it currently isn't, the word that Ryan mentioned, evolution, you can see a preview of Dash's evolution. If you do a keyword search on YouTube for evolution preview, now that I think about it, if you look for evolution preview on Dash Detail, you'll be able to get a visual of exactly what it is that we're talking about. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Peter Steinmetz. Question actually for Mr. Duffield. First point of clarification, do I understand correctly then that you have shut down all the master nodes which you directly or indirectly control? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the second question is, you apparently pre-mined or insta-mined about 1 to 2 million Dash coin at the beginning, and the argument should be worth, I don't know, how much now? $180 million or something like that? In the past you've explained that, well, the community wanted to mean, you attributed this to a computer bug. and then you explained that the community wanted you to continue to hold those coins on the basis of a vote. At the time that that vote was taken, how much of the voting power from the master nodes did you control?
There wasn't master nodes. There wasn't a master node.
That was pre-master node.
Oh, okay. So you just decided then, basically, to retain these $176 million?
Yes. For the viewers back at home, we have just had the token instamine question that happens at every event, and we'll answer it again like we always do.
I have 256,000 coins to my own possession. I'm going to give away 4/5 of them back to the community and sponsor many DAOs.
Okay.
I want to fund all of them, and so it's not my money. I'm keeping it for those companies. I'm going to like have a slot system. It's going to be democratic. I won't even pick like what's happening. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, because
No,
what
that's
people have
like-
said, that you have several million.
Yeah, so 256,000 coins is how much money?
Yeah. Right.
Like not what number did you say?
18 million?
I think it was going to be, I think people have estimated 2 million.
Yeah, 2
Let
million.
me address that one.
Yeah.
So there were 2 million total coins produced in the first 48 hours.
Okay.
He did not get them all.
Okay.
I actually did a pretty interesting analysis because I wanted to do my own due diligence on this issue.
Sure.
And I published it. I basically made a bunch of very generous assumptions, like that the first couple hundred blocks were all him and only him, and that no one else was mining it, and therefore that was probably the capacity that he had to mine. I made a bunch of assumptions. I won't go through the full list,
Right.
but there was a very long list of assumptions. Everybody on the network was getting rejects at the time, and I came to a number that was very close to that independently. That analysis is published. I should probably put it somewhere, but it's on Bitcoin Talk.
I would
But
encourage you to do so, because
It is
I don't
published.
bring this up to be hostile. I'm a serious investor
No,
in
it's a good
cryptocurrencies.
I
And
wanted
looking
to
at Dash, I have serious questions.
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah.
to say like
Yeah. Well, let me.
you can have it back actually.
Okay.
Yeah, like you gave your perspective of that, and I wanted to give mine. At the beginning, I had 3 computers in my closet. I was mining CPU computers. I used to run closet computers like my whole childhood, right, with air conditioners and stuff. So, like at the beginning of this, I just had that little bit of computing power. I compiled it at the time that it went out, and I published the code at the time of compilation, and I mined. Like, what is the issue with that?
Yeah. I'll say one more thing and close it. The second piece of evidence that I think we can point to is that a lot of people have come forward since that have said, I mined it too, here's my wallet, and have shown screenshots and so on. And so between the evidence on Bitcoin Talk of people saying, hey, I got my miner up and blah, 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 with timestamps and all of that, between the analysis that I did and the fact that all of these other people have come forward and said, no, here's evidence that I was mining 20% of the coins or whatever. This issue has, as far as I'm concerned, been put to bed many, many times. It will continue to come up, and we do need to continue to convince people that Evan is not going to dump 50% of the coins on the market instantly, and the price is going to crash and all of that. So it's unfortunate that it happened. It is too late to do anything about it after people started trading it. We can't restart the coin. We do have to live with it, and all we can do is be transparent about what happened, be transparent about the situation, how many coins he currently holds, and I think that's
Tommy Economics, what is your question, sir?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, but I'm not on a lot of the videos, but I do run that YouTube channel. But I would say I'm a fan of the model of Dash to have that 10% go towards funding. I think that's really smart, and a lot of cryptocurrencies could definitely implement something like that. What I'm wondering is if you guys have thought about increasing that, say 20%, because that's twice as much money you can use toward funding. And there's probably a lot of potential too that's also untapped, like ETC marketing. Cryptocurrency are like 1.1% of the world right now. It's 10 million users. There's 7 million people. You guys extend that the world, you guys would capture a much larger share than other cryptocurrencies. I see a lot of potential in that. That's what I'm wondering.
There is nothing magical about the 45%, 10% split that we picked early on to say, here's how much goes to mining, here's how much goes towards masternodes, and here's how much goes towards treasury. I think that if we're going to change it, it needs to be on the basis of academic research and mathematical research and independent research that says that there is a safe level of mining that you have to produce, and what level of security for how large of a transaction that will provide, and be able to publish that before we would really start messing around with it, because it's working. We have a huge advantage over everybody else in the space at this time with the current split even. But if you can reallocate some of that 45% that goes towards mining, as long as you do it slowly and are fair to the miners, I don't want to drastically change it. They've made an investment in our ecosystem, and I would never change it quickly. But if you determine that only 10% is needed for mining to be more than secure, then you can reallocate it towards valuable purposes. Any of those three valuable purposes that I talked about earlier, either increasing masternode rewards, which would necessarily increase the ROI on a masternode, the return on investment, and would drive masternode demand. It could increase the number of masternodes that we have. It could drive investment into our ecosystem, etc. The second, treasury, towards any other purpose. The third is just not letting those coins ever be created. Any of those things produces value. And so I think that we should be open-minded about the issue, but should be driven by data and research. So I think in the near future, we may fund that research in order to make our coin more efficient. Because if we don't, someone else will optimize a coin to do it better than we do. And guess what? They'll eventually erode our market and win. And so we have the advantage now. If we fund it and we optimize our coin first, there's no catching up to us. So I think it's an important issue, and I think we should address it. I think it's a great question.
So I've been thinking about this for a while, and we have like tossed around this idea of collateralized mining, which is a really cool way of taking the miners, and then you use contracts with like providers of mining, and then you end up having like three major pools controlling most of the share of the network, and then we can actually control how much each of those pools controls as a group of masternodes. So it kind of reverses the logic. And then from that, you can reduce the amount that you spend on mining, because it's collateralized at this point. To control it, you also have to buy units of our currency, and that's expensive. And so it gets more expensive as you lower the amount as well. And then we could do research and figure out exactly what those numbers are and how to do it. But yeah, we definitely could do it.
Well, as I had said, it is incumbent upon me to keep us on time.
If you guys want to keep taking questions, if there's questions, that's fine too.
Yeah, I would just,
All right.
Should we take a masternode vote on how many?
That's the thing. This is where the crisis of governance comes up. And since I have the microphone, and it is incumbent upon me to keep us on the schedule, I will say that this is the end of this round of questions. As I had said, any and all of you are invited to go to this restaurant afterward. And if you would like to converse with many of the people in this room online to get further questions answered, to learn more, and any and all of those things, hey, maybe even you'll put in a proposal yourself and you will join our network and we will employ you because you are skilled. I invite you to visit the site dashnation.com/chat. Yep, and at that site you will see links to all of our social forums online. So dashnation.com/chat. Thank you, everybody.